Namaste and welcome to Chapter 5, titled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. The title may be long, but there are only 29 verses in this chapter. Chapter 3, which is titled Karma Yoga, and this chapter 5 are alike, and one of the reasons is that the questions Arjuna asks in the opening verses for both chapters are similar. Basically, his question is, why do I have to work? So now Krishna reinforces that Krishna consciousness means practical service in devotion to the Lord, and he explains the results of such service or work, just as when a person takes medicine, the medicinal ingredients become active and the symptoms of their disease start to diminish. Good health returns. So using this analogy, Krishna is the doctor and the medicine is action in Krishna consciousness, that is devotional service. The symptoms of a person who is returning to good health are described by Krishna. Chapter 5 is basically dedicated to explaining the characteristics and results of one who works in devotion, their state of mind, detachment, and the relationship that worker, that bhakti yogi, has with the Supreme and everybody else. Chapter 5 is the pragmatic explanation of what happens when a person applies the transcendental knowledge that has been explained in Chapter 2, 3, and 4 when working in Krishna consciousness. I have divided Chapter 5 into 7 segments and quoting 14 of the 29 verses. Segment 1, verses 1 to 5. Verse 1. Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitively which of the two is more beneficial? Verse 2. The Blessed Lord said, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of works. Verse 3. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, liberated from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty-armed Arjuna. Segment 2, verses 6 to 9. In the next verses, Krishna is describing some of the symptoms of a worker in devotional service. Verse 7. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. Segment 3, verses 10 to 13. Verse 10. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme God, is not affected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. Verse 12. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace, because he offers the result of all activities to me. Whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labour, becomes entangled. Segment 4, verses 14 to 17. Here, Krishna describes that an enlightened person is not bewildered. So often in our material life, we become bewildered. Why have these things happened? And what should we do next? In such a bewildered condition, we identify ourselves with the material body and the circumstances surrounding us. We become consumed by the temporary misery and happiness of life. Verse 16, Krishna says, "When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime." Segment 5, verses 17 to 18. Here Krishna explains the equanimity of mind of an enlightened person, how they see not only themselves but all living entities. Verse 18, which I will read, is an iconic verse for chapter 5. So verse 18, "The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, outcast." Segment 6, verses 19 to 22. So in these verses, Krishna is further describing the symptoms and the wisdom of a self-realized person. Verse 20. "A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is to be understood as already situated in transcendence." Verse 22, "An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them." So we're coming up to the end of the chapter. Krishna has described many of the symptoms and attributes of a self-realized person. But for segment 7, a person who does not act in knowledge but is anxious to gain peace in this world. Everybody wants peace. So a person who tries to gain peace in this material world, they will be frustrated and fearful. So this has been described as the peace formula, these last verses of chapter 5. So verse 23, "Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is a yogi and is happy in this world." And now the concluding verse 29. "The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries." So wonderful. Krishna clearly explains how we can be happy. Namaste.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare